Hey there, John Shorby here from ReallyEasyGuitarLessons.com, and in this video lesson I am going to show you the 10 chords that every beginner needs to know in order to play thousands and thousands of songs. So for the beginner guitar player that wants to learn, just strummy type stuff, they want to, play around the campfire or, entertain friends and family in their living room or just play for their own enjoyment, just learning strummy, easy versions of songs. Learning these specific 10 chords is really going to give you access to learning a whole library and set list worth of awesome material. So in this video lesson, I'm going to show you what those 10 chords are, and then we're going to organize them into 7 different chord progressions. And I'm going to give you a simple 5-minute exercise that you can do every day to practice these chords, to practice these chord changes, and to practice these chord progressions. And the more you do this, the easier it will be to learn many songs. Let's jump in and get started. So real quick before I show you the chords, in the description there's going to be a link to a lesson page on my website where you can get all the chord diagrams and the drum track to practice along to. So let's jump in, get started. Let me show you those chords. All right, the first chord is an E minor, open E string, 2nd fret A string with the 1st finger, 2nd fret D string with the 2nd finger, and the G, B, and E strings are open. E minor. Second chord is E major. Same thing, 2nd fret of the A and the D, but I'm changing my fingers. My 2nd finger is on the A string of the 2nd fret, and my ring finger is on the 2nd fret of the D string. And then my 1st finger will go to the 1st fret of the G string, and it's again, play all 6 strings. E, okay, so here's E minor, and here's E major. And the idea with learning these chords, you want to commit them to the shape to memory, right? You want to be able to hear the name of the chord, E minor or E, and then know what fingers go on what strings and what frets. You could kind of think of like your hand as a shape and, remember what that shape is and get to that chord when you hear that name. The next one you need to know is A major, which I'm going to give you 2 different ways to play it. Open A string, 2nd fret D string with the 1st finger, 2nd fret G string with the middle finger, and then 2nd fret B string with the ring finger. So you're scrunching all of your fingers in to the 2nd fret of the D, G, and B string. The A string is open, the high E string is open. We don't play the low E. So that's one way to play it, and an alternate way to play it would be to use your 1st finger to hold down the D, G, and B strings. So one finger to hold down multiple strings. When you do this, the A string is still open, but the E string can be muted, right? You're not really playing it. You're just playing from the A to the B. It's an alternate way to play an A major. Both of those are acceptable. Next one is A minor, which is the same shape as E major, right? So if you remember E major, you're just really bringing your fingers down one string, D string, 2nd fret with the middle finger, G string, 2nd fret with the ring finger, B string, 1st fret with the index finger, the A string is open, the high E string is open. A minor. Next one, B7. I'll give you 2 ways to do this. This one is your middle finger is on the 2nd fret of the A, your index finger is on the 1st fret of the D, and your ring finger is on the 2nd fret of the G. And now if you play it this way, you're playing from the A string to the B string. Okay, don't play either E, because if you play the E's, you're going to get a different sound. Okay, an alternate way to play it is keep your fingers the way they are, and then just add your pinky to the 2nd fret of the high E string, and then you can play to the high E string. Okay. So either way, acceptable. This one's a little bit easier with just 3 fingers. When you get the pinky involved, it always complicates things for students. Those are the 2 ways to play B7. Then we have a D, which would be open D string, 2nd fret G string with the 1st finger, 3rd fret B string with the 3rd finger, and 2nd fret E string with the 2nd finger. Play from the D string down. Now, sometimes when students play this, often the error that they get is that the high E string is muted. So if you're hearing muting, it's probably because your ring finger is touching the high E string. And so you need to get it out of the way, get more on the tip of your finger, and that'll solve that muting problem. If you still are getting that, it could be that the tips of your fingers are not calloused enough. There's too much skin. So what I recommend there, if any of your fingers, if you feel like they're constantly getting in the way of adjacent strings and causing muting, a way to get around that is to do this exercise that I refer to as the Spanish Inquisition, where you put your finger into the high E string at the part of your finger that you want to kind of press down, and you just slide it up and down. It hurts. It's not fun to do. But if you do that, you will push the skin in on your finger and you'll develop a callus really, really fast. So it hurts to do, but it gets your fingers calloused over faster, and which allows you to play longer. And then more importantly, in this case, is it pushes the skin down so that it gets it out of the way of those adjacent strings. So there's another next chord, D, and that's how you do it. And the next one we have is G, and I'll give you 2 ways to do this. So we have 3rd fret of the E string with the middle finger, 2nd fret of the A string with the index finger, the D string and the G string are open, and then the 3rd fret is played with the ring finger of the B string, and then the E string, the 4th finger on the 3rd fret. So that's one way to do a G. D and G strings are open, I said. An alternate way would be to get rid of your pinky and put your ring finger on the high E string of the 3rd fret, and now the B string is open. So these are both G chords. With the B string open, you'll see this a little more often in country and folk music. And with the ring finger on the B string, you'll see that more in like rock and alternative music. But I mean, that's not a rule. You can see the opposites in whatever. But both valuable to know. G with the B string open, and G with the 3rd fret of the B string covered with the ring finger. The 8th chord I'm going to show you is called a C add 9. It's not CAD 9, it's C add 9. And all you do is you take that G shape that we made, where your ring and pinky were on the 3rd fret, and you simply just move those 2 fingers down to the A and the D string. So now my middle finger's on the A of the 3rd fret, my index is on the 2nd fret of the D, the G string is open, ring is on 3 of the B, pinky is on 3 of the E, play from the A string down. Gives you C add 9. The 9th chord is a C major, 3rd fret of the A with the 3rd finger, 2nd fret of the D with the 2nd finger, open G, 1st fret B with the 1st finger, and open E. Play from the A string down. That gives you a C major. And the last chord is an F, which is probably the hardest one of the bunch. And you take your C shape here, so 1st fret B string, and then these 2 fingers, I'm going to move them down a string. So now my middle finger is on the 2nd fret of the G, and my ring finger is on the 3rd fret of the D. And then I'm going to do one extra thing, and that is my 1st finger, I'm going to lay it flat so it's holding down the B and the E string of the 1st fret. I'm going to play from the D string down. So you could cheat this if you want to. I know the F chord's very hard. It's the hardest one to do. If you want to cheat it, you could just play the D, G, and B string. Just play those 3 strings. If you do that, you want to make sure that you're not playing the high E string. Because if you play this, where the high E string is ringing, you're no longer playing an F. You're playing what's called an F major 7. And there's a difference in sound. Listen to the difference. Here's an F. And here's an F major 7. Okay, you hear that they're sonically, they sound different. Okay, so if you're gonna cheat it and not play the E string, literally don't play the E string. Make sure that the E string is muted or you're not strumming it. But try to get the big boy version where you're holding down the 1st fret of the B and the E string. Okay, so those are the 10 chords: E minor, E major, A major 2 A's, A minor, B7 2 A's, D, G 2 A's, C add 9, C major, and F. Quick little tip on chord changes, a way to practice chord changes. One, I would say, out of all the chords here, practicing changing from a G to a C a G to an F, and a C to a D. If you prioritize those three changes, in my experience teaching, those seem to be the hardest chord changes for students to make. And so if you really work on those three in isolation, it makes every other chord change kind of easier by comparison, right? Now, you might run into some chord changes that are, not one of these three that give you, trouble. And so whenever you have a chord change problem, definitely put the emphasis on that. I say it in every strummy video lesson that I teach, and I'll say it a million times because you really need to understand that the thing that holds beginner guitar players back the most is their chord changing. You can't practice chord changing enough. And the good thing is once you know how to do it, you won't have to really practice it again. It'll be just a skill that you've obtained. But the thing that holds everybody back is moving from one chord to another in a accurate fashion and in a rapid fashion, okay? So I'm gonna give you a little way to practice chord changing. And the way I do it, the way I instruct to do it is this. You have to do it two different ways. You have to practice chord changing where you focus on the accuracy of the chord, but you also have to practice chord changing where you're practicing moving your fingers as fast as you can. A lot of people will just do the accuracy part, right? If there's, let's say, they're changing from a G to a C. Most often when I ask a student, how do you practice chord changing? They'll go, oh, well, I make the G chord, and then I play it, and then I, take my sweet ass time to go to the C chord, and then I just get my fingers there, and I play it, and then I go back to a G chord, and then I play it. Now you'll get better at it just by doing anything. As long as you're doing work, you will improve. But if you want to get results faster, you have to practice two ways. So the first way is essentially what I just did. You're taking your time in between the chord, and you're making sure that your fingers go to the correct spots, and you're making sure that the chord sounds right. The one thing I would add in on that, for beginners, it's very common to put one finger down at a time, okay? So if they're going from a C to a G, they'll put this finger down, this finger down, this finger down, right? And they go to a C, they put one finger down, one finger down, one finger down, which is inefficient, all right? Ultimately, what you want is your fingers to be moving at the same time. That G to C is one movement, it's not several movements, okay? But you have to train your fingers to do that. And one of the ways to do that is when you're doing it in the slow strategy, where you're taking your time between your chord changes, what you want to do is alternate what finger you put down first. So continue to put one finger down at a time, just change the order. So for instance, if you go to a C chord and you always put your first finger first, and then your second finger, and then your third finger, well, the next time you go to do it, put your second finger down first. And the next time you go to do it, put your third finger down first. If you alternate them like that, you're training your each finger to be the lead finger, right? If you only put your first finger down first every single time, the more you repeat that, you're just cementing that this finger is more important than these two. But if you learn to alternate them, then they each get, a shot at being the leader. And over time, that means you get three fingers that are completely independent of one another, okay? So that's the first way to do it, is just alternate each finger and just check the chord for accuracy as you do it. And then the second way you want to practice it is take your right hand out of the equation at all and just literally as fast as you can, try to change between a G to a C. Now, when you do this, your fingers are going to be all jacked up and you're going to want to, correct yourself to make sure that they get to the right spot. Fight that urge. You're not practicing accuracy here. You're practicing speed. You're practicing that going from a G to a C is one motion, not several, right? Your brain thinks C, it immediately reacts to a C. Your brain thinks G, it immediately reacts to a G. So if your fingers get a little off, right, they don't get to the right spot, don't worry about it. Just keep making the motion, all right? If you practice both of those ways, first way where it's slow and deliberate, and you're alternating your fingers, and you're getting the chord to be clean, and then you follow it up with rapid changes like this, your brain starts to understand that, oh, wait a minute, chord changes aren't just about being accurate, they're also about being fast. And over time, it makes the connection that, oh, I need to be accurate and fast. So you just get to the result that you want a whole lot sooner. Okay, now I'm gonna walk you through the 7 chord progressions that you should practice. And if you learn all of these, again, thousands and thousands of songs. So here's the way that we're going to do it, right? With each chord progression, I have 3 levels that we're going to practice. Level 1 is whole notes. Each chord is going to last 4 beats. So I'm going to be doing this to a drum track because I want you to get used to practicing chord changes to an external source of time. If you're practicing only to your own internal source of time, well, if your internal source of time is not good, if you don't have much musical training, then you could be wrong and you don't even know it. So you want to get used to practicing to external sources of time. That's a metronome, drum tracks, or if you're learning songs, practicing along with the recording, right? That's going to help build your sense of time and your rhythmic palette, okay? And so the way we're going to do this is we're not going to worry about strumming in this lesson. If you go to the lesson page on my website, I have some strumming ideas there for you. But in this, we're just going to show you the chord changing and the chord progressions to focus on. So in each chord progression, again, I'm going to break it into 3 levels. The first level is playing nothing but whole notes. So that means I'm going to play the chord once and it's going to last 4 beats, okay? In the second level, we're going to change on every other beat. So on beat 1 and beat 3, where you're going to be changing chords. And in level 3, we're going to be changing on upbeats, okay? And what an upbeat is, so if we're counting to 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, the spaces in between those numbers, we could put another beat there, right? They're called eighth notes. And the way we count that would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So those ands, right? On those ands, we're going to put chord changes on the ends, also called being on an upbeat, okay? So we're going to do that for each chord progression that I show you. So here's the first one. It's in the key of A. All right, so the first chord progression is going to be A, D, and E, or A, E, and D. We're going to just mix up those 3 chords. So we got an A, D, and an E, or we could go A, E, and D, all right? And so the first way that we're going to practice this is we're going to play A for a measure, 4 beats, 1, 2, 3, 4, change to D, 1, 2, 3, 4, change to E, and that's actually going to last 2 measures, E, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to reverse it. We're going to go A, 2, 3, 4, E, 2, 3, 4, D, 2, 3, 4, D, 2, 3, 4. So check it out. I'm going to put the drum track on, and this is what the first level sounds like. Reverse it, A, E, D. 2, 3, 4, D, 2, 3, 4, D, 2, 3, 4. So notice too that I'm letting the chord last for as long as it needs to last. I'm changing at the last second. Here's what you don't want to do. You don't want to do this. You don't want to play A and then immediately get to D, and then play D and then immediately get to E. All right, definitely do not do that. You need to let the chord last for as long as it needs to last and change at the right time, okay? This is why I said practicing your chord changes is what is most important, because when you're playing, when you're strumming along too, like this hand's going to be doing something. This hand has to stay put for the right amount of time. You can't cheat it and get there early, right? So let those notes ring for the right amount of time. All right, now the second level of this, we're gonna change on beats 1 and beat 3, and we're gonna alternate. We're gonna do A and then D, A and then E. Check it out. And for the last level now, here we're going to change on the and of 2. So it's a similar idea to level 2, except that chord change is going to happen on the and of 2. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And 1 and 2 and 3, 4. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So a good way to practice this whole chord progression, I mean, you can take one level at a time if you want to, obviously break things into chunks. You know, if you can't do the and of 2 stuff right away, that's fine. But what you should work up to with all of these chord progressions will be to try to do all 3 levels back to back to back like this. So you start off with level 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And then the next thing is reversing it. 3, 4, and D, 2, 3, 4, D, 2. And then now every other beat, A, now on the and of 2, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So if you do that, right, if you do it just like that, all 3 levels in an order like that, if you do it 5 times, it's 5 minutes, right? If you do that 5 minutes a day, over the course of a few weeks, you'll have all of these chord progressions licked. And that's the way we're going to work through the rest of these chord progressions. Same system, same order, just going to be with different chords. And so with that first chord progression, if you know how to play those chords, you now have access to play some of these songs, like A Boy Named Sue by Johnny Cash, Glory Days by Bruce Springsteen, I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For by U2, Louie Louie, Soak Up the Sun by Sheryl Crow, That's All Right by Elvis Presley, and Three Little Birds by Bob Marley, along with many, many others. All right, in the second chord progression, the 3 chords we're going to use are E, A, and B7, okay? And so in the first level, we're going to do a measure of E, a measure of A, and a measure of B, 2 measures of B7, followed by a measure of E, a measure of B7, and 2 measures of A, and then we'll do that on every other beat, and then we'll do it on the and of 2. Check it out. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the B7 comes second. And then A for 2 measures. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now every other beat, alternate. E, B, A, B, 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 B7, B, 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 A, B, 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 B7, B. Now end of 2. So knowing that chord progression will give you access to learning some of these songs like I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry, Folsom Prison Blues, Born on the Bayou, Dreams, These Boots Are Made for Walking, Rainy Day Women, 12 and 35, and Money, That's What I Want. All right, the third chord progression is going to be C, G, and F. All right, those are the 3 chords we're going to use, C, G, and F. All right. So again, just like the first 2 ways, we're going to do whole notes. First C, F, and G, followed by C, G, and F. And then we're going to do that on every other beat, and then we're going to do it on the and of 2. Now on every other beat, 1, 2, F, 4, C, 2, G, 4, C, 2, F, 4, C, 2. Now on the and of 2, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. A couple of songs that use just those three chords, would be All Apologies by Nirvana, Cecilia by Simon and Garfunkel, Down on the Corner by CCR, The Wrestler by Bruce Springsteen, and Used to Love Her by Guns N' Roses. All right, the fourth progression is going to have the chords D, G, and A. All right, D, G, and A. So just like the other ones, we'll do whole notes, and then we'll do every other beat, and then we'll do the and of 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, G, 2, 3, 4, A, 2, 3, 4, A, 2, 3, 4, D, 2, 3, 4, A, 2, 3, 4, D, 2, 3, 4. Now every other beat. And of 2, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Some songs that use only those chords: Authority Song by John Cougar Mellencamp, Blown in the Wind by Bob Dylan, Jersey Girl by Tom Waits, Margaritaville by Jimmy Buffett, and again, many, many others. All right, the fifth chord progression is going to be G, C, and D. And on the C, I'll give you the option. You could either do this with C or you could do it with C add 9, okay? So G, C add 9, and D is really a nice, easy progression to do. Doing the G to C change, like I said at the beginning of the video, that's a hard change to do. I want you to practice it. I want you to work on it. But just knowing this level, you could substitute the C for a C add 9. So as I demonstrated, I'm going to do just that. Sometimes I'll do the C, sometimes I'll do the C add 9. But again, like the other progressions, we're going to do it in the 3 levels: whole notes, half notes, and then on the and of 2. Here we go. So we got G, 2, 3, 4, C, 2, 3, 4, D, 2, 3, 4, D. I'll do C add 9 now for the C's. G, 2, 3, 4, D, 2, 3, 4, C add 9, 2, 3, 4. C. Now every other beat, I'll go back to C, 4, G, da, D. Now I'll do C add 9, G, up, C add 9, G, B, D. On the and of 2, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All right, and these last two progressions are very similar to ones we did before. We're just going to add a chord to it. So the sixth way, the chord progressions are going to be G, E minor, C, and D. So instead of using 3 chords, we're going to use 4 chords. And again, in this instance, you could either use C or you can use C add 9. So wherever the C is located, I'm going to alternate between using a C or a C add 9. I recommend you do the same. This time, now, it's a 4 chord progression, so the whole notes will be G for a beat, E minor for a beat, a bar. G for a bar, E minor for a bar, C for a bar, D for a bar, and then G for a bar, D for a bar, E minor for a bar, C for a bar. And then we'll do every other beat: G, E minor, C, D, G, D, E minor, C. Okay, so we're just kind of mixing those up, and then we'll do them on the ands: G, E minor on the and of 2, C, D on the and of 2, G, D, E minor, C. Check it out with the drum track. up the chords. G, 2, 3, 4, D, 2, 3, 4, E minor, 2, 3, 4, C, 2. Now every other beat, G, B, E minor, B, C, B, D, B, G, B, D, B, E minor, B, C, add 9. Again, you could switch out the C for the C add 9 in that progression. And some songs that use only those chords: Brown Eyed Girl by Van Morrison, Every Rose Has Its Thorn by Poison, Good Riddance, Time of Your Life, Green Day, Last Kiss by Pearl Jam, Perfect by Ed Sheeran, Stand By Me, Truly Madly Deeply, Wagon Wheel, and Yellow by Coldplay. And the last progression I'm going to show you is going to be C, A minor, F, and G. Okay, C, A minor, F, and G. We're going to mix those up, and then we'll do C, G, A minor, F. All right, and we'll do that whole notes, half notes, which is every other beat, and then, of course, on the and of 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, A minor, 2, 3, 4, F, 2, 3, 4, G, 2. Switch it up. C, 2, 3, 4, G, 2, 3, 4, A minor, 2, 3, 4, and F. Now every other beat, C, B, A minor, B, F, B, G, B, C, B, G, B, A minor, B, F, B. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and some songs that only use those chords: Let It Be by the Beatles, Don't Look Back in Anger by Oasis, She Will Be Loved by Maroon 5, Riptide by Vance Joy, and Little Talks by Of Monsters and Men. So there you have it, 7 chord progressions that you can practice. If you get good at those chord progressions and those chord changes, and you start learning songs on your own, you're gonna be like, oh my God, like every song has the same chords in it. Yeah, you'll notice a lot of patterns when you lock in all of these chord progressions. So practice as I outlined, right? Just, if you want to go through one level at a time, just do whole notes first, and then graduate to half notes, and then graduate to changing on the upbeats. That's fine, but the better that you get at them, I recommend trying to go through all 3 levels in one little session. It'll get you to where you want to be faster. And as you're going through it, pick up on any chord changes that give you problems, right? I outlined at the beginning of the video that G to C and like C to D, those are like some of the hardest ones to do. So obviously focus on them if they're hardest. But if you find like going from C to A minor is hard, or going from G to C add 9 is hard, whatever is difficult for you, put your emphasis on that and focus on it. All right, that's it for this video lesson. Once again, there's a link in the description to the lesson page where you can get access to the drum track and the chord diagrams and some other goodies. So check that out. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.